When people ask, what are the best and worst neighborhoods in the Pittsburgh region? This is a loaded and complex question that most agents really don't want to answer. But I have no problem answering this question, particularly when it comes from my clients that are looking to move to the Pittsburgh region from out of state. They need this type of guidance and this information to know what would be the places that would be a great fit for them. So let's get started as I rank Pittsburgh area neighborhoods from 1 star to 5 stars. So let's make sure we understand this ranking system. This is based on a real estate evaluation based on risk and predictability. Those neighborhoods that have the greatest risk and the greatest instability will be 1 star. Those neighborhoods with the least amount of risk, the most stable, the most predictable, will be 5 stars. These rankings are also based on my experience as a real estate professional in the Pittsburgh region and the direct experiences of my clients looking for homes in those areas or trying to sell homes in those areas. So if you're new here to the channel, Mark Knows Pittsburgh, I am Mark McClinchie, a full-time real estate agent with Compass Real Estate. I serve the entire Pittsburgh region with an emphasis on people relocating from out of state. Let's get started with our rankings and dive into the 1-star neighborhoods. My definition of a 1-star neighborhood is definitely not that these are bad neighborhoods. It just means that these are areas that have a lot more risk. They're extremely unpredictable. Perhaps the resources in those areas are limited and therefore services could be limited. Some of these places might not have grocery stores or other retail options. Buying a home in these areas might have great payoff. Some of these areas have tremendous potential and could really grow in the coming years and decades ahead, but they also might continue to struggle, and therefore the experiences of people living in some of these areas are extremely uneven. Some people love these areas and have great experiences, so they're the best neighborhood for them. But some people have been disappointed and have had regrets once they get there and realize the truths of daily living there. So let's take a deeper dive into one of the neighborhoods that I'm putting in the 1-star category, the South Side. The South Side sits just across the Monongahela River from downtown. It's a large area because it includes the flats, the South Side Flats, as well as the South Side Slopes, which is where I am right now. So there's approximately 20,000 residents that make up the South Side Flats and the South Side Slopes. This past year, the median sales price on the 200 homes that were sold was $250,000, but there's just a lot of variation in people's lived experiences on a day-to-day basis. The price points also in the South Side are not as cheap as other 1-star homes on my list, which is why I wanted to feature it to make sure people avoid surprises and understand the risks as they research areas where they might want to live. There's sort of 2 main challenges, I think, with the South Side that people might not understand is if you're down on the flats, you have access to Carson Street, which is absolutely phenomenal. There is so much retail there, cafes, coffee shops, florists, bookstores and restaurants, and tons of nightlife. There's a lot of people that absolutely love that. That's brought a lot of challenges with nightlife. And I know a lot of people that have moved there and were very disappointed at some of the spillover that happens on Carson Street, leading to situations that are not safe for the neighborhood and really detracting from the value of their homes. One of the challenges that I see on the South Side Slopes is that it's such a steep hillside, and nearly all of the homes in the South Side are more than 100 years old. And so the infrastructure and the systems in these homes, and certainly the foundations, I've seen a lot of homes that have a lot of issues in their basements and other old systems. So that's something that you have to keep in mind. A lot of these homes need a lot of maintenance and a lot of upkeep to bring up to standards that are going to add value in the future. So in addition to the South Side, a few other neighborhoods that I would put in this 1-star level include Marshall Shadeland, which is a city of Pittsburgh neighborhood on the north side, right off the Ohio River. I'd also put Glassport in this category. Glassport is a community on the Monongahela River down in the Mon Valley that is showing some signs of revitalization, but still a big risk. The variation of people's experiences there vary widely. Let's next talk about neighborhoods that I've put into the 2-star category. So let's talk about my definition of a 2-star neighborhood. This is going to be a place with a little less risk than a 1-star, probably still early in its redevelopment. There's still going to be a wide variation and people's experiences. Again, some people absolutely love it. Some people might be disappointed and recognize that it's not the place for them. Some of these places on my list suffer from negative perceptions that are not based in reality. Maybe they're based on stereotypes, or maybe the way the neighborhood was decades ago. So a lot of these places kind of struggle to overcome those perceptions, which really do influence behavior in the real estate market. One of the characteristics is kind of uneven growth. You might have places that are fully renovated and flipped, like the place behind me. And then there's other parts that are continuing in their redevelopment. We're in Allentown right now, and that is one of the neighborhoods I would like to put in my 2-star category. Allentown is a hilltop neighborhood just above the south side. It's in the city of Pittsburgh, very small. There's only 2,500 residents. Last year in 2025, there were only 12 homes sold at a median sales price of $100,000. So a lot of good deals here. And it's interesting when you look at those 12 homes that are sold, only 3 of them were actually above $250,000. So these are homes that were, fully renovated and sold at pretty high prices, to be honest. The rest of those homes in that list were sold at $70,000 or lower, have considerable work that needs to be done. Your average homeowner probably isn't able to renovate those. So some of these are by investors, which brings me to some of the upsides of Allentown, really. A lot of people talk about gentrification, and that is a tough topic in the world of real estate. In my mind, when you take over a neighborhood with outside money and outside people and sort of leave the current residents behind and outprice them, that's definitely not a great way to renovate an area. But Allentown, I think, is different. It doesn't have that kind of feel. In my experience, helping a client move, wait for that train to go by. Another great asset of Allentown is the light rail goes right through, so it's got great access to public transportation. But back to the gentrification thing, I think Allentown is trying to develop smartly. The residents are a big part of community efforts to improve their own neighborhood. They're trying not to price people out. There's a ton of upsides here. Again, you might have thought by the title of this video you were gonna get a bunch of places not to move to, but again, I'm just categorizing this based on risk. And Allentown has a ton of potential, but there's still risk. It's early on in its development, but I'm walking down East Warrenton Avenue right now, and there's businesses that are thriving. The local community is very supportive in the growth and very invested in it. I had clients not that long ago that wanted to move to Mount Washington, which is just nearby, but the prices were just too high. And so when we found a house that was move-in ready in Allentown for a fraction of what they would have paid in Mount Washington, they jumped at the opportunity, and they are absolutely thrilled with the decision they made to move to Allentown, and it has such great walkability. They can, go to restaurants and coffee shops, and it's been a great experience for them. A few other neighborhoods that I would put in this 2-star level where, lots of potential, but still some risks. I'm gonna add Coraopolis, which is a town across from Sewickley up the Ohio River, northwest of downtown. Coraopolis is still in its early stages, but I think it's got a lot of promise and a lot of potential. If you're looking for homes under 200,000, Coraopolis is a great place to look. I think that could be a really strong investment if you're willing to be patient and willing to see that place grow. Another neighborhood in the 2-star category is Carrick, which isn't too far from here. It's a city of Pittsburgh neighborhood. So let's move from the 2-star category, talk about neighborhoods that I'm putting in the 3-star category. So in my rating system, the 3-star category is for neighborhoods that have really turned the corner and no longer at risk of teetering on success or failure, but their really best days are ahead of them, and there's really little risk in things faltering. One of the features of a 3-star neighborhood is there's a great mix of residents that have been there for decades, along with newer people that have been moving in, giving that healthy turnover of a mix of people that have been there a while and people that are new. I think the same is true for businesses, where you've got legacy businesses that continue to be successful in those neighborhoods, and then you have newer businesses that are moving in and also becoming successful. So in the end, a 3-star neighborhood is really strong value, very predictable in getting what you want. So one of the best examples I can share with you of a 3-star neighborhood is the borough of Dormont. It sits just outside the city limits in the South Hills. West Liberty Avenue goes right down the middle. You got thriving business districts on both West Liberty and Potomac. It's a great little community, access to the light rail, and I move a lot of clients into this neighborhood that feel that it's a great value, very predictable. There are about 9,000 residents in the borough of Dormont. The median sales price in Dormont is $290,000. This was in 2025 for about 100 homes that were sold in this area, including a lot of my clients. One of the differentiators of a 3-star neighborhood compared to maybe a 1 or 2-star is just the consistency you're gonna see in home quality. A lot of well-maintained homes in the borough of Dormont. You get the classic historic and charming homes as well. So a lot of people like the walkability and the feel and the vibe of Dormont. So for me, it's a great example of a 3-star neighborhood. Let me list off a few more examples of 3-star neighborhoods in the Pittsburgh region. Swissvale. Swissvale is a borough just on the other side of the Squirrel Hill Tunnel. It sits outside of the city limits, east of downtown. We've got Bellevue. Bellevue is northwest of downtown, up the Ohio River, just outside of the city limits as well. So let's talk about 4-star neighborhoods where buyers tend to settle there for the long term. So our 4-star neighborhoods are marked by consistency, reliability, and little to no risk. These are predominantly suburban communities that are highly residential. Many of these you can find throughout Allegheny County as well as the surrounding counties. These communities tend to have really strong amenities, great parks, really strong school systems, and very strong services and retail opportunities within close proximity. This is by far the biggest category, 4 stars, that I would be able to put in many neighborhoods throughout the Pittsburgh region. The one I want to focus on right now is Moon Township. Moon Township is 15 miles west of downtown Pittsburgh. It's right next to the Pittsburgh International Airport. There are 25,000 residents in Moon Township. The median sales price in 2025 was $375,000, and that was across 100 home sales. Moon Township really started its boom years in the 1980s as US Airways was the hub at Pittsburgh Airport. A lot of new housing developments built at that time, as well as a lot of business parks and corporations setting up suburban office space. All of that means there is a large tax base, produces a lot of amenities and resources, including the school district. The Moon Area School District is consistently ranked one of the top districts in the region. The resale demand in Moon Township has been consistently strong and is one of the stronger performers in the region. It's a diversity of neighborhoods in Moon Township, some that were built post-World War II, and then more of newer developments in the last couple decades. First-time home buyers move into Moon Township, and when they get embedded into the community and their kids in schools and they outgrow that starter home, many of them stay in Moon Township because there's plenty of options to upsize, which is a great advantage, not having to leave the community. So if you're looking for communities where you are a first-time home buyer, think about its size and think about what you might do 5-10 years down the road. Moon Township is one of those communities where you can upsize and stay in that community. As I mentioned, there's a lot of suburban neighborhoods that would fit into this 4-star category, but let me name 4 that kind of stand out to me. One is Plum Borough, which is in the eastern side of Allegheny County. Strong suburban community, strong school district, and it's a classic 4-star community. I would also put 2 North Hills area townships into 4 stars. One of those would be Shaler Township, part of the Shaler Area School District. And right next to Shaler Township is Ross Township. Ross Township is part of the North Hills School District. Both Shaler and Ross, some of the original suburbs in the Pittsburgh area, only a few miles north of downtown. Both of those really strong 4-star communities. And the last community I'll mention in the 4-star category is Bethel Park. Bethel Park has a lot of similarities to both Ross Township and Shaler Township, except it's in the South Hills, similar price points. Many clients that are super happy with their decision to move to Bethel Park. It's a strong performer, strong appreciation and resale value. So that brings us finally to the 5-star category. Let's talk about what differentiates a 5-star community from all the other categories. The key ingredients to a 5-star community is the predictability and the rock solid stability of that neighborhood, very rarely faltering. 4-star community might ebb and flow with market conditions. When the market's up, those areas are going to be up. If the market's down, those areas might go down as well. But a 5-star community, these are going to be incredibly strong performers regardless of market conditions. They're almost immune to what the market is doing because buyers want these communities, willing to pay for them. So these are the strongest and most stable communities. Not necessarily the best, because best is going to be eye of the beholder. But these, from a real estate perspective and a value perspective, these are places that are going to continually appreciate and continually grow, as I said, regardless of what is happening in the market. A great example of a 5-star community in the Pittsburgh region is the borough of Franklin Park. This is a North Hills community in the northern section of Allegheny County, just off of the 279 split with 79. Franklin Park is kind of a triangular shape, part of the North Allegheny School District, which I've mentioned several previous videos, the strength of that school district and how it ranks as one of the elite districts in the region. Franklin Park has a lot of amenities, including the schools, but it's close to retail, has great access for a commute to downtown. You can jump on 79 or 279, and the traffic patterns from the North Hills area to downtown are much more efficient and traffic free than you will come from any other side of the city. So that's a great advantage. There are 15,000 residents of Franklin Park. The median sales price in 2025 was $575,000 on 136 homes sold. To best illustrate why Franklin Park is a 5-star community, let me talk about my recent clients that sold in Franklin Park just a few months ago. As the market was cooling, they were a little nervous about their asking price. They really wanted to maximize it. I had told them, as I analyzed the market, that despite what was happening in the Pittsburgh region overall, Franklin Park continued to be very strong. So we set an aggressive asking price, and we got tons of traffic that first week. The open house was overflowing with people. We had tons of showings, and then we got multiple offers. So my clients accepted the best offer that was available in that bunch. And as we went through inspections and the transaction continued, the buyers unexpectedly got cold feet and terminated. They didn't attempt to negotiate on any of the repairs. My sellers were very nervous on putting it back in the market, because in a typical community, typical neighborhood, especially we are in the fall, you're not going to do well putting a house back on the market. You're going to lose value just about anywhere. I told my sellers that when we went back on the market, I still thought they would do very well. When we relisted, put back on the market, we didn't have quite the turnout that we did originally, but we still had very eager buyers show up, and my clients accepted a full price offer that was actually better than the first one. They waived inspections, and we got to the closing table without any issues. And so this is a great example of what will happen in a 5-star community, where you don't have to worry about the market conditions really losing value. So they had an investment, they did tons of renovations. They were really worried about, losing money. We're sort of counting on getting the equity back out in the appreciation of their home, which they definitely did. As I said, we had an aggressive asking price. They got full asking price, and we had no inspections, and it was a smooth transaction from beginning to end. Despite the initial hiccup, it worked out really well. My sellers were super happy. Additional communities that I would put in the 5-star category include Fox Chapel, another North Hills area community. I would also put Sewickley into 5 stars. Sewickley is northwest of downtown Pittsburgh. Another community I would put into the 5-star category is Mount Lebanon. That's where I'm currently walking. And the last community I'll put in the 5-star category is Upper St. Clair. Both of these are South Hills communities that fit very well into those high demand communities where they're very stable and very predictable and very little to no risk. It does come with a price tag, but this is money that will be very safe as you continue to live in those homes and they will appreciate and gain equity and gain value. At the end of the day, any one of these communities I've mentioned in this video might be a great fit for you. You're now informed and educated on the risks associated with a 5-star community versus a 1-star community. Your home is obviously a very expensive asset, and it's important to go into with your eyes wide open and know what are the risks, what is the predictability of a community, and if you're willing to take more risk, then maybe some of the 1 or 2-star communities are the perfect fit for you. I'm definitely not saying these are bad neighborhoods, and I'm not necessarily saying that 4-star or 5-star are the best neighborhoods. As I mentioned, it's really about predictability and risk-taking. It's a tough thing to assess because if you live here, you might not be able to put your finger on it, but you sort of inherently know through discussions and meeting people of what neighborhoods are the best fit for you. And that's the challenge. When you're considering relocating to an area like Pittsburgh, you have so many options and so many neighborhoods. It's incredibly difficult to make sense of that without being a local. So you definitely need neighborhood by neighborhood analysis, and you need factual information, people that are considering a relocation to the Pittsburgh area, and they require cutting through the noise and understanding exactly what neighborhoods and communities would be the best fit for them. If the content in this video was helpful, please reach out. I'd be glad to give you more details on every possible community that could be a good fit for you and your family. Just give me a call or text and we can set up a free consultation to discuss the neighborhoods of Pittsburgh. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.